It's 7 o'clock, so good evening, counselors, staff, presenters, the press, and online viewers. We begin tonight's meeting with an acknowledgement that the land which we are gathered on is the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, specifically Mississauga. We would also like to acknowledge the North Channel Métis Council. We say miigwech to thank Indigenous people for taking care of this land from time immemorial. We are called to treat this sacred land, its plants, animals, stories, and its people with honor and respect. We commit to the shared goal of reconciliation. Prior to beginning this evening's agenda, I would ask that each counselor who is present via video conferencing to answer the roll call when I call your name. Deputy Mayor Summers. Is she on yet? Okay, Deputy Mayor Summers? Her mic must not be working because I can see.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Betty Ann Dunbar.
Present.
Councillor Jim Dunbar.
Present.
Councillor Stephen Wells.
Present.
Okay.
Councillor H.P. Roy sends his regrets. Councillor Jennifer Posterero.
Present.
And council would like to welcome Chris Zager, who is here tonight on our video conference call as the new Director of Public Works. Chris is no stranger to the residents of Blind River, having worked with another local employer for many years. Welcome, Chris. And we'd also like to welcome Kathy Fortin to the receptionist position at the town office. Kathy is another person that people will recognize right away. And she's one of the many staff working in the front office ready to serve the needs of our community. Just a reminder, the children are back at school and we ask everyone to be mindful of our pedestrians as they may not be mindful of you. And now turning without further ado to tonight's agenda, I have a motion from Councillor Betty Ann Dunbar, seconded by Deputy Mayor Summers. Be it resolved that council approve the agenda as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. And are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Councillor Dunbar?
Thank you, Mayor Hagman. I'm declaring a non-pecuniary interest as per the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act for agenda item number 13.1 under correspondence.
Okay, thank you for that. And Ms. Welsh will, I will ask you to depart, and Ms. Welsh will send you a text to come back to the meeting when this subject matter has been changed. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the adoption of the previous meeting minutes, and I have a motion moved by Councillor Jim Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Stephen Wells. Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting of August 8th, 2022, and the minutes of the special meeting of council August 24th, 2022 as presented. All in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. And is there any business that is arising from those minutes? Seeing no one's hands going on, we'll move on. And our next presenters are no strangers to our council. Chris Astles is the chair for the North Shore Power Group Board. Graham Lowry is the CEO and the president of North Shore Power Group. Welcome, Graham and Chris.
Thank you. Chris is here with me, and thanks for having us. Our agenda this evening is a presentation on the Blind River Generating Station, now that we have a year's worth of reliable production data. And then we're going to give the two of us together are going to give an update on activities at North Shore Power Group. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. And you tell me if you can see this spreadsheet.
We can.
Perfect. Okay, there was three pages in the analysis that I sent through in advance of the meeting. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look at them, but there was a lot of details about Unit 1, which is connected to the town hall, which is net meter connected. And then Unit 2 is connected to the sewage treatment plant, and it's behind the meter. So I'm just going to take you through a summary of the past year on both units. So this is Unit 1 at the town hall. As you can see, it only ran May and June of 21 and November and December of 21. The rest of the time it's had mechanical issues, most recently the head gate, which had previously been operated by essentially a boat winch. The cable snapped when they were trying to raise it, which is not safe. So the good news is we're in the midst of executing a repair on that, putting in a proper chain fall, and the engineers have been there and done some weight calculations and made some recommendations on the proper equipment. But the bottom line is Unit 1 only generated a little over 68,000 kilowatt hours during the past 12 months. Unit 2 ran much more reliably, and that's connected to the sewage treatment plant. Produced electricity every month except for April, and for the year produced a little over 171,000 kilowatt hours. So the next column totals the kilowatt hour output between both turbines. And the next column, which is an interesting bit of statistics, is a 100 kilowatt station. We have two 50 kilowatt capacity generators. So that 73,000 figure is the total potential kilowatt hours in a month. And that's calculated by saying we have 100 kilowatts of capacity. There are 8,760 hours in a year, and dividing that by 12. So then when you look below, it's just interesting to note that this was the percentage of the total potential capacity. In other words, the water availability and the equipment availability, because those are your two limiting factors. So some months were very low, June and July of last summer, for instance. Interestingly, by December, we were up to almost a 90% capacity factor. So that's obviously that's the kind of production you want at the plant. But overall, it seems to have averaged about, we'll just quickly run an average here. Something, I'm going to guess it's around 25%, but we'll just see here. So yeah, about 23.45%. So to make more money with the plant, we have to get that number up. And when I give my my written presentation later, I'll describe some of the potential. So the next thing is the savings on the unit. On unit number 1, which is connected to town hall, we saved a little over $3,800. And on unit 2, which ran more, we saved $16,535. Dividing that by the kilowatt hours, you can see that when we were running power to the town hall, we were only saving the town 5.5 cents. When we were running it to the sewage treatment plant, we were making 9.6 cents per kilowatt hour, or saving it rather. And that's just due to the nature of the interconnection and the way hydro calculates the savings. They're much less generous when you're net meter connected than when you're behind the meter connected. And that's basically has to do with the fact that when you're behind the meter connected, they don't see you consuming power, so they don't charge you the delivery and the global adjustment charges, which are very large. If you look at the town hall unit, which is net meter connected, and you look here at the charges, like here's an interesting month where the town paid $226 for the electricity, and then they got hit with a $1,000 bill for the global adjustment, which is just something hydro applies because they want more money. another $518 in delivery. So that, and they don't credit you for your generation on any of those charges when you're net meter connected. And Chris is sitting behind me, and they paid some crazy global adjustment charges at Cameco. They were huge. So the last part of this page before I get to my written presentation is just a summary of our staff, the hours spent on call, because we have to be on call for the generating station, for the equipment, and also for the water level control, especially during potentially flood conditions. And then our regular hours spent actually in the powerhouse. So the total hours was 1,000. Our total billings were 43. So we made about $44 an hour, because it's to be expected that council would say, well, is it really worth running the plant? And so I just wanted you to know that we're not making any money at it when you make that decision. And that $44 an hour we're making has no administrative allocation for Dana or me or Leanne or anyone in the office. So before I go to my written presentation, I'll just stop and see if there's any questions on the numbers. Is everyone sort of comfortable with what I've explained?
I'm just looking at council right now, Graham, and seeing if anyone has any questions. I think the question that is on everyone's mind, is it worth it to continue to have the waste treatment? Obviously, it's the better of the two, but is it worth the taxpayers' money to continue to follow having the hydro generation through the dam?
Yeah, it's a good question. And until this year, we really didn't have the data to provide council with the fundamental information to make that decision. So a little over a year ago, we installed revenue grade meters on both generators. That was May of last year, so that we could obtain accurate power output readings. And up until that point in time, the power output data from the powerhouse wasn't reliable, or it was non-existent. When we first took over, Bernie LeBlanc said to me, the computer here says we've made a lot of power that we've never been paid for, and I've tried to get Hydro to pay us for it. And I worked on that for a year and a half, and Hydro kept on saying that we hadn't made the power. So it became obvious that we needed to get accurate readings. So now that we have readings that I feel we can rely on, and a year of them, based on the past 12 months, our total generation was just under 240,000 kilowatt hours. So we did have a lot of mechanical issues. We are repairing and upgrading the equipment. It's got some years on it. But I would estimate that we should be able to do about 50% better than that this year. I don't want to overpromise. I'd rather over-deliver. So I'm saying I think the plant's capable of making 360,000 kilowatt hours instead of the 240 it's making now. Right now, as a combination of net metering credits and behind the meter offsets, as I just showed you on my spreadsheet, using the energy valuation employed by Hydro One, the value of the power generated was a little over $20,000. The savings at the sewage treatment plant per kilowatt hour is roughly twice as high as those at the town hall due to the nature of the interconnection. And I did discuss that on the other page. G2 is the west turbine connected to the STP. G1 is connected to town hall and the courthouse. Courthouse doesn't exist anymore, which has reduced demand. So the STP uses approximately 640,000 kilowatt hours per year. And that was new information until I got the readings from the revenue grade meters and I saw what Hydro was charging us. I could see how we were making power that Hydro wasn't even recording because we were making it and using it simultaneously. So until I had this data, I didn't know how much power, and no one did really. Hydro doesn't even know until I had this data how much it used. So now we know it uses enough power to take all the generation from both turbines. And you had asked me that question before, and I didn't know the answer, and now I do. And it would make sense to connect both units to the sewage treatment plant because we save 10 cents a kilowatt hour instead of saving a nickel at the town hall. The operating costs, we started out at $3,000 a month for NSPG with an inflation factor, and so now it's up from 36,000 a year to 37,536. The operating budget for parts is 12,000. I would have to ask Sue if we actually use it all, and the capital budget is 20,000 per year. And again, I'm not sure if we used it all, and Dan is not on the call, but I'd have to ask one of them. Opportunity for improvement. Well, as I mentioned, the electrical generation directed to the SDP is worth almost 10 cents versus 5.5 at the town hall. So that if both units were connected to the sewage treatment plant, and if production did increase 50%, then we'd be saving 36,000 instead of the 20,000 now. So not enough to cover, well, enough to offset NSPG's cost, but not enough to cover any parts or capital upgrades. But here's the thing to keep in mind when you're discussing this. And that is that, I wasn't even around in these days, but when the town built the Blind River GS, it agreed to take over the operation of the water control dam from the M&R. So the town is on, unless you succeed in renegotiating that with the M&R, the town is on the hook for those labor costs. So we do that included in our monthly fee. We basically run the whole river at this point from not the Matinenda dam, but everything below it, the Chiblo Dam, the Canoe Lake Dam, and this one. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're making this decision that we perform this other function on behalf of the town and the M&R, and we do it on the whole river. And the other thing to keep in mind is if you're thinking about mothballing it, it will probably pretty much fall apart and be relatively unusable because, of course, everything's wet all the time. It's damp in the powerhouse. So if you keep it running and hydro one day offers power contracts again, which has happened twice so far in my life, then you have an asset you can put a contract on and sell it as a long-term income property. So that's the state of facts, and those are things that you should consider when you're thinking about this.
Thank you, Graham. I believe Councillor Jim Dunbar has a question.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, Graham, that's so what you presented here, it makes a lot more sense to run both of those generators for the sewer treatment plant. But do you know, or do you have any idea as to what cost that would be to switch this the two of them into one towards the STP?
That's a good question. I would think it would be minimal, but I would have to get our master electrician over there to tell me if we would have to upsize the size of the conductor, because right now the conductor from one turbine goes to the STP and the other runs under the river to the town hall. So
and when you say conductors, Graham, we're talking about the cable, right?
Exactly. I'm talking about the wires. Exactly. Yeah. So the wires from the turbine that's connected to the sewage treatment plant are actually buried. So we'd have to check on how large they are. You'd be putting a little bit more amperage through. Hopefully we wouldn't have to change it, but if so, we could come up with a budget. And then we would disconnect the other wire, which actually runs up the riverbed to the town hall. And that's always kind of worried me, just because of anchors and all kinds of things. So we would be getting rid of that cable. Not that it would be worth much, but as scrap. But anyway.
I think our best bang for our buck would be to run them both towards the STP and eliminate that one to the town hall.
I think that's correct, Jim. I do.
Okay.
And are there any other questions from council on this part of the presentation? I think we're good to go forward, Graham.
All right, you want to go, Chris? Okay, I'm going to bring up the chairman's report. And okay, somebody help me. How do I play as a slideshow? Pam, where are you?
Mhm.
It looks like a PDF, it's not a slideshow.
Yeah, it's a PDF, not a slideshow, Graham. So it's probably, you're just going to be bringing your
Okay.
page down.
Chris is just going to scroll then.
So welcome everybody. As everybody may know me, I'm Chris Ostels, the chairman of the board for North Shore Power Group. And once again, it's a pleasure to add some remarks that you'll be hearing from Graham in a short moment. So among the many issues our world faces today, climate change ranks high on the list of concerns. And it's to our credit that the small town of Blind River has embraced the challenge of renewable energy. And we started this 12 years ago. We have 74 local solar power projects and 200 acres of solar power generation installed at the industrial park. And we rank high on any list of solar energy per capita in Ontario. The fact is that we are ahead of the green energy revolution. And now with the push to the full swing to electric vehicle electrification, as you know, some states have mandated this, I believe we are now ahead of the curve. So this is a picture of the solar park showing all the panels that are in operation. So it's thanks to the hard work of our executive team at North Shore Power Group in rescuing the intellectual property from Plasco and facilitating the relaunch of the company now known as Omni Conversion. We're continuing to earn significant revenues from our loan from this company. Omni has continued to render all scheduled payments due to North Shore Power Group under the loan facility. Since 2015 and up to today's date, we've earned interest of $5.353 million, and Omni has paid down principal of $2.941231 million. As management will explain after my presentation, the effects of our 2 loan prepayments during 2022 have reduced the current principal value of our loans to $21 million, and that's down from the $49.5 million. By any measure, these are positive outcomes so far. As I said at the last presentation, we are certainly not out of the woods yet. However, we are certainly seeing very positive outcomes, which are going to probably become quite profitable for North Shore Power Group and the community. Our core power generation operations continue to produce well and making positive annual revenues. Once again, I remain proud of our power company and everything we've achieved for the community and the positive outlook we're seeing for the future. And with that, I will now turn it over to Graham.
Thanks, Chris. And thank you for staying on the board for 8 years now. I keep worrying Chris is going to quit on us. So won't be too much longer. I'm sure you're getting tired of listening to me. This is my report from the CEO. So this follows my stakeholder update of February 15th. And since that time, our December 31, 2021 audited financial statements have been published. Net income for 2021 was $1,637,925, and we're proud of it. It was our highest ever. During the first 8 months of 2022, NSPG paid its regular March 1st annual loan installment to the town of $1,115,324. And we also prepaid $5.2 million on the amount, which isn't due for 15 years. It's due on April 1st, 2037. These funds were paid in 2 installments, 4 million in February 15th and 1.2 million on July 14th of this year, which I don't even know if we put out a press release at that time. So that's just a bit of additional new information. We continue to operate across Ontario and in several business segments. Some of you may remember this slide from the springtime, but we've got projects up in Rainy River, 31 up there, 74 projects around Blind River, 10 projects in Sudbury and on Manitoulin Island, 1 project in Delta over towards Ottawa, but it's a fair size, 250 kilowatts. And down around London Waterloo, we have 8 projects. This is how I see our business. We're in 5 different, I call them business units. We have projects where we own the solar generation equipment and the contract. We have other projects where we own the solar generation equipment, but we lease the equipment to someone who has the contract. We have a renewable energy lending, which is our receivable, our loan receivable from OMI. And then we were for many years in construction services. We built quite a few projects for other people as basically turnkey cost plus contractors, but they're all complete now. And then we have our operating and maintenance division, which looks after our 72 projects where equipment is leased, our 55 projects where we own the equipment, and also provides O&M to all the big projects out here at the industrial park, and also the 3 water power plants. The 1 for the town that we've been discussing this evening, and then 2 for an external operator. So that's a summary of the business we're in and the territory in which we operate. Our board made a strategic decision in the past year to halt expansion of our business operations in favor of a period of operational stability and debt reduction. We talked about it at length because, as everyone knows, we have inflation now. So it's a little dangerous to have static revenues because things start moving against you. But so far we're okay, and profits continue to climb. So this is the strategy we've adopted, and that's what we're going to do. So I just want you to know that everyone at our power company will continue to pursue the ongoing success and profitability of our enterprise. So I don't think there are any questions on that, but I'll stop for a moment just in case there are. I have one more piece of information for you. Is there any questions?
Councillor Jim Dunbar has a question for you.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Hagman. Thanks, Graham. If I can, call upon your vast capabilities of this energy and green, energy we've been involved in over the last 10, 12 years, Graham. We were set up at one time for the green energy, and we had Ontario Hydro say in that, well, we couldn't put this into our grid, all at once. Do you see any positive things down the road? Once the electric cars are up and running and moving, like, I don't believe we could supply enough energy right now at the moment if everybody was plugging in their cars. And by no way, this isn't coming up from me. This has been told by some of the experts. But do you foresee any new avenues down the road, Graham, in the near future pertaining to, to the route that we're going?
Yes. Yes, I do. I guess I stopped sharing screen. Yes, I do, Jim. I don't know exactly what shape it will take, but twice in my life, there has been a large scale government initiative to buy private power. And Chris, one of the nuclear generating stations is due for relicensing. Is that
Pickering is the one that are forecasting to close it down.
And it's in the terawatts of capacity. It's like 5 terawatts. So we have the demand side moving with electric cars, and then we have the supply side moving with aging nuclear stations. So something's got to give. But I don't know what it is, and I don't know what the changes will be, because at the same time, technology is changing. Battery technology is improving. Solar module technology is improving. But I'm sure there will be opportunities in the electricity sector. It's energy, it's fundamental. So, I mean, I've been in the power business a long time now. I guess, 30 some years. But yes, Jim, there will be opportunities, and we have a power company, and hopefully we'll be positioned to take advantage of some of them. We don't know what they'll be, but at the moment, it's everyone's sort of wait and see, in my opinion. Our current government was elected and reelected with a somewhat anti-renewable stance, but I don't think it makes sense for them to maintain that opinion, because we're going to need more power, like you just said.
Not only power, but you have to worry about the green energy. You see what's happening in the States with the flooding and the wildfires and the heat waves going through. This is all climate change, which drives back to energy generation and spins off to the consumption. So changes are going to have to be made. They're not going to be quick, but they're going to have to be very strategic and starting soon.
Yeah, we have to change the way we live. But interestingly, Elon Musk came out the other day and he said, we're going to have to keep driving gasoline cars. And there's a number of reasons for that. But one of them is that I don't think there's enough lithium on planet Earth to make the batteries that we would need if everyone drove an electric car. So we certainly have some technological challenges yet to overcome. But yes, our children want this world to change, and they're going to make it happen.
Thanks, Greg.
So I have one more slide to show you. If I may share my screen again, Pam. It's just the effects of the prepayment, which I think you'll find interesting. So Sue just got this today, I think. So we got, let me start at the start here. So this is the payment that we made at the beginning of the year, the $4 million payment. So the CMHC wrote to us and said, your deferred loan, you gave us a $4 million payment. Your deferred loan was $23,406,750. So that's where it sat at the end of 2021. And they said, for giving us $4 million now, we're going to give you a discount on your final payment of $5,727,857. So I had run the numbers back then to figure out what kind of a discount they were giving us. And for $4 million to grow to $5,727,857 over 15 years, they were giving us an implied interest rate of 2.42%. So, and they get that from the Government of Canada yield curve, and I won't get too far into that. But as you know, interest rates have gone up since the beginning of the year. The stock market's crashed 30%, and interest rates have gone up. So this is the letter that Sue got, and it says, for the $1.2 million that you gave us on August 9th, we're giving you a credit in 2037 of $1,910,332. So then I crunched those numbers, and they gave us 3.2% compounding on the 1.2 million over 15 years. So in other words, between paying them in whatever that was, February, we got a 2.42% compounding discount. And then in August, we got 3.2%. So my point here being, we did 30% better in terms of what they gave us for paying them 15 years early. We did 30% better this time than last time. So sometimes being patient pays off. And I realize we want to pay down the debt as quickly as possible. I just wanted you to see those figures that rising interest rates are actually benefiting us every time we make a prepayment. And the last thing before I stop boring you all to death is this page, and that is, this is the mortgage statement from CMHC. So what they're saying is the principal and interest outstanding is 12.6 million. That's principal and interest. The principal alone is 12,347, and the deferred amount as of a few days ago, not due until 2037, is 15,768,561. That's down from the 23,406,750. Interestingly, that just talking the principal, it's 12 of that figure is 12.347632 plus about 300,000 in interest so far this year, which we're well positioned to pay, and owing $15,768,561 15 years from now, because of the time value of money, is only worth $8,717,924 today. Ergo, our total principal owed net present value is $21,065,556, which ties in with the figure Chris told you earlier. That's how much we're down to from the 49.5 million. And with that, I will close my presentation, and I don't know how to stop sharing, Pam. Maybe you could do that for me. So Chris is still here. I'm here if you have any final questions. Otherwise, I'll stop manipulating your council meeting.
I'm not seeing any hands going up, Graham, which means that you did a fabulous job along with Chris in explaining the situation that we're at, and we are certainly in a more favorable position, and let's keep the sunshine coming.
We are making progress.
That's right. Yes. It's a good feeling. So thank you for tonight. Thank you for coming, and you're more than welcome to listen to the rest of our council meeting. Otherwise, we wish you a pleasant evening.
Getting Chris in here to say goodbye.
See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
So moving on to the introduction and consideration of administrative reports. Administration has provided us with the ongoing projects updates for our capital and operating projects. And does council have any questions on these two extensive lists? I'm not seeing any hands going up. I know the question that is on a few people's mind is the courthouse and the demolition. I see that there is a truck outside the building tonight.
Yes, Mayor Hagman, there is. The project commenced today. So all of the interior work, removal of the doors, removal of the other equipment that we've requested that they salvage on our behalf will all be taken care of this week and part of next week. So you'll see the major construction start into next week and the following week. So we should see a significant change in our area very shortly, which will be a huge enhancement to the downtown core with the beautiful project along the river. So it's going to look wonderful in a few weeks.
And will the residents of Blind River be appraised of when the destruction will be taking place? I know when it was taking place last round, there was a lot of people that were watching.
Yes, we have a press release ready to go. We've also been in contact, or the press have been in contact with us with regard to the project, and we have a social media release ready to go today. So that will be going out as soon as we have a confirmed date of the demo.
And I see many of our tourists are taking advantage of both the waterfront at the marina and the waterfront along the river. We're seeing some pretty nice SUVs and also RVs taking advantage of our beautiful waterfronts, both of them. So again, kudos to the staff for making this happen, and kudos to our contractors. They did an excellent job. And I'm seeing no other hands going up on this project. So moving to 9.2, return to in-person council meetings, e-scribe training. And I have a motion from Deputy Mayor Summers, seconded by Councillor Betty Ann Dunbar, Whereas council had intended to resume in-person council and committee meetings in September 2022. And whereas council and committees are required to be trained on the vote manager and webcasting modules of eScribe. And whereas conflicting schedules prevented this from being achieved in August 2022. And whereas there was not an approximately 4 regular council meetings until the new council takes office on November 15th, 2022. Therefore, be it resolved that council and committee meetings resume in person in council chambers following November 15th, 2022, and that administration will arrange multiple training sessions to accommodate any scheduling conflicts. Questions, comments? Councillor Pastorero.
Thank you. I just have one quick question. We haven't been paying for these webcasting fees since we're not using it until such time as we do. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor Hagman, to Councillor Pastorero. We have undertaken the costs of the training modules. So we have been working together. We are doing work in the background, even though council hasn't been trained on the program as of yet, but the full cost will come once it's fully implemented.
And are there any other questions on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And that means no one is opposed, so it is carried. Thank you. From the Director of Protective Services, we have the WSIB Health and Safety Excellence Program. And Mr. Raymond is online if council has any questions on the program itself. Councillor Jim Dunbar. And you're on mute.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious as to the annual WSIB premiums versus, the 10%. So is it established, Ken, that, the 10% would be substantial because of our premiums that we are paying?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it works off the percentage of what we paid from 2021. So once we go through the project, that's where we can get our percentage back. So it came from, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so I mean, we're paying enough in WSIB premiums then. Do we have a number what our annual premiums are for WSIB?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I got the information from Sue.
Oh,
So I don't, that's the figures that I had gotten were from what we had paid that year. That's where we get that rebate of the 14, we can get up to about 14,000 back.
okay, that's fine. That pretty well answers my question there, Kenny.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Raymond? And seeing none, we'll move on to next agenda item, the service delivery review, and we had no items under that. Infrastructure services met on August 10th, 2022, and our CAO clerk has given us information on transfer of property. And related to that, I have a motion from Deputy Mayor Summers, seconded by Councillor Pastorero. Be it resolved that council authorize the CAO clerk to commence the process of transferring the property owned by the town at the rear of Plan 180, Lot 37 to Lot 39 RP, AR 750, Part 1, Part 2 RP, AR 636, Part A PT to the property owner, and that in exchange for this property, the owner of the property provide drainage easement in favor of the town of Blind River, as recommended by the Infrastructure Services Committee. And does council have any questions on this motion? Seeing none, could I have a vote, please? All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We have nothing under unfinished business. We do have one item under correspondence, and I would ask Counselor Jim Dunbar to vacate the room at this time, and you will be texted when we have discussed this item. So we have a letter that came into myself from Linda Dunbar on the unsightly exterior conditions of our post office. Does council have any comments on this letter or the post office itself? I'm seeing no hands going up. Wait, Deputy Mayor Summers and Councillor Foster.
So can you hear me, Sally?
Yes, I can.
Mary Hagman? Yes, okay, thank you. So I'm taking from this that because the post office is not doing anything about how bad it looks and how it's not safe the way it is now. She's hoping that we are gonna help push it along or send something to the post office that will help maybe make them do some of the work around there. Is that my understanding?
That's right. Yes, she's asked for a letter to come from the town of Blind River to the federal infrastructure committee to do something, and she's provided the address for us. So,
okay. So Ms. Scott, I'm just wondering, do you think that merits a letter from us? Do you think that will help?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to answer your question, Councillor Summers, we could send a letter requesting that they bring the property up to a certain level based on our property standards bylaw, but I would require a direction resolution from council to undertake that direction because it is a federal level government. So I would require council's approval to embark on that.
and Councillor Ponsterero.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a lame duck council, do we have the authority to move forward with a resolution at this time, or would we have to wait till November 15th? And in the meantime, if there's enough concerned citizens as well, they could always on their own behalf send letters of concern to the federal government that is the department that's responsible for upgrading the post offices as it would constitute a safety concern. So hopefully in the meantime, our private citizens can also send letters. But to the first question, I'm just wondering, as a lame duck council, are we able to move forth with a resolution at this time?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Posterero, under the Election Act, the lame duck stipulation and situation that this council is in prohibits you from undertaking any further direction that is outside of the current budget approvals. So any further spending, the hiring and firing of officers of the corporation, but moving and directing myself to take on a task such as this would be permissible under the lame duck legislation.
Councillor Wells.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Hagman. Since this would not involve the expenditure of any money, and even if we are a lame duck council, I would like to propose, or I'd like to move that we send a letter of support. All we're doing is sending a letter of support so that it will give more weight to the email that we have received this evening. But we'll need a seconder for that.
And I see Councillor Betty Ann Dunbar has raised her hand. I'm assuming Councillor Betty Ann Dunbar, that's to second the motion?
I would certainly second that motion. And I think that if we do write a letter, we could also include the fact that we are doing a community improvement plan, and this would certainly, help us move that plan forward as well. So not only are there safety issues, there's also the upkeep of our town. So yes, I will certainly second that motion.
All right, and all in favor of this motion? And that is carried. Thank you. And thank you to Linda Dunbar for bringing this to council's attention. I know that we're all taking pride in our community right now. So when you see things that are amiss, we really do appreciate when they're brought to our attention. So thank you for that. And Ms. Walsh, will you welcome Mr. Dunbar back into the council chambers, please? We'll just give him a minute to come back in. Back, and we're on to item number 14, correspondence for information. August 1st, we received information from the Ontario Sheep Farmers re challenges of livestock farmers, and it was an interesting letter as it relates to the various animals that are involved and the definitions of animals. So we do thank you for that letter. Number 15, we had no notices of motion. Number 16, introduction and consideration of bylaws. We had none. Council reports and announcements. We have no council reports at this time. We will be sending you the AMO report at some time in the future. Definitely a very, very good conference, and we do want to share those highlights of the conference with council. No addendums and no closed sessions tonight. So we will move on to the confirming of the bylaw. I have a motion from Councillor Stephen Wells, seconded by Councillor Jennifer Posterero. Be it resolved that council authorize the mayor and CAO clerk to sign bylaw number 22-48, being a bylaw of the corporation of the town of Blind River, to adopt the minutes of the meeting September 6, 2022, was passed in open council this 6th day of September 2022. All in favor with this motion? And that is carried. And last but not least, I have a motion from Councillor Jim Dunbar, seconded by Councillor Betty Ann Dunbar. Be it resolved that council adjourn at 7:52 p.m. This is a record. All in favor with this motion? And that is carried. Thank you, council. Have a great rest of your evening, rest of the week, and we will see each other soon. Take care.